What's going on, y'all? I'm sure you all have noticed how nostalgia hits harder than hope now. It's not just sometimes, it's very consistently. People talk about the past with warmth and comfort and emotion, but when we talk about the future, it tends to be vague, uncertain, and flat out avoided completely sometimes. We joke about being cooked or about the world ending, about figuring it out later, but we don't dream the way people used to, and it's kind of strange. Because hope is supposed to be stronger than memory. The future is supposed to pull us forward and not the past. So why does it feel like we're all emotionally looking backwards all the time? So I want to talk about why nostalgia feels stronger than hope. And it's not because the past was better, it's just because the future no longer feels solid enough for a lot of us to believe in. And I want to get straight into the first misconception. Nostalgia is not about wanting to go back in time. People don't necessarily miss the dial-up internet or bad quality TVs, the slower technology, worse healthcare, or fewer opportunities. We just miss how it felt to exist during that time. Nostalgia is very emotional and it's not historical. So we don't remember the stress, uncertainty, or fear of responsibility. At least like we filter it out. Our brains are filtering memory through safety, which means that nostalgia isn't an accurate memory. It's a curated emotional highlight reel. We look at it through rose-tinted glasses, and right now we cling to that reel because the present feels very unstable right now. And the past feels safe for one simple reason. It already happened, so there's no risk, there's no uncertainty, there's no stakes. Like we survived it. In the future, on the other hand, it feels very unpredictable, which is normal, but it feels fragile, feels out of our control, which again, that's normal. And it feels like one wrong move could ruin everything. So our brain does something interesting and it retreats to what it knows. Not because the past is perfect, but because it's finished. Memory is closed-ended and the future is open-ended. And that tends to scare a lot of us today. And the open-ended does genuinely feel terrifying right now. We're going to break this down psychologically a little bit. In moments of stress, the brain is always going to seek familiarity. That's why we see people rewatching old shows, replay childhood games. Why do you think I got the Black Ops gameplay on here? We listen to music from our teens, scroll nostalgic TikToks, romanticize eras that we barely even lived in or barely remember. It's not regression, it's just self-soothing. Nostalgia functions like an emotional shelter and a place where your mind goes when the world feels unsafe. That's why nostalgia spikes during economic uncertainty, cultural instability, personal burnout, identity confusion. Like we're not obsessed with the past, we're exhausted by the present. And the thing is that hope requires belief, and belief that effort is going to lead somewhere. The future is buildable, stability is possible, meaning is attainable. But modern life constantly undermines that belief. We're told to work hard, but everything's expensive, plan ahead, but nothing's guaranteed, dream big, but be realistic, and care deeply, but don't expect much. So hope is starting to feel naive for a lot of us. And not because people are cynical, but because the world feels structurally unstable. It's hard to imagine a future when the rules keep changing. And previous generations had the templates for hope. They had the clear paths, clear milestones, clear timelines, and now everything feels very fragmented. And careers are unstable, relationships are uncertain, housing feels unattainable, and institutions feel unreliable. So trust feels completely broken. So instead of imagining futures, people imagine escapes. Nostalgia becomes the stand-in for hope, because imagining the past feels easier than imagining a future that makes sense. And there were moments in my life where I caught myself doing this, like looking back, not because I wanted to go back, but because it felt grounding, it felt simpler. Because back then things were clearer and they were simpler and they're a lot less heavy and not easier, but just knowable. And that's when I realized like I wasn't missing the past, I was grieving my faith in the future. And a lot of that was for me putting myself in a bad position too, not just my circumstances or where I grew up in. When nostalgia starts to outweigh the hope, life is going to start to feel like it's facing the wrong direction. We reference old eras, old aesthetics, old sounds, old values, and culture becomes recursive. Everything loops, nothing advances, and we stop asking what could be and start asking what was. And it's not a creativity problem, it's an imagination problem, specifically a broken relationship with the future. And something worth mentioning, I think optimism is very important to have in your life, but the common quotes we hear like just think positive, everything happens for a reason, it'll work out, those phrases tend to fall flat now with Gen Z because they ignore reality, and people don't want false hope, they want believable hope. And hope is rooted in honesty, hope that acknowledges difficulty, that doesn't promise perfection. That's why nostalgia feels more honest. It doesn't ask you to believe in anything new. Again, I still think optimism is important to have in your life, and if you take action on things, you will see stuff play out in your favor. Don't know how long it'll take, but it will happen. So how do you rebuild hope without lying to yourself? You stop thinking of hope as a grand vision. Hope becomes small commitments, chosen meaning, personal direction, grounded goals, responsibility, creation. Hope stops being abstract, it just becomes local. It's not running around saying the future will be great, but I can make something meaningful here. I can start today. I can do something with myself. And that's how hope is going to regain weight. And you don't have to necessarily build confidence again in the world. Have confidence in yourself. I can tell you for damn sure, sitting around and not doing anything about it and not taking action in your life is really not going to help anything. It's okay to daydream and think about the past, and I still do it too sometimes. I think it's completely normal. Something I felt a lot over this past year was I don't really feel the need to want to live in the past anymore, or think about the past and think about how much better things were. I've taken a lot of action this year in my life with starting the business, posting on this channel for almost 6 months now consistently, and taking my working out even more serious. I want to do my first show next year for that. With that being said, I don't want to go back to how I used to live. And the truth is, my life used to be completely miserable and full of chaos. Even before then, like the childhood moments and everything that I still sometimes think about. I don't want to go back. I like where I'm at now, and I like the direction I'm heading in. And I'm saying all this because I know if you find some success in your life, whoever's watching this, and you take action on stuff and go forward in your life, you won't want to go back. You won't look at it as something you wish you could relive or go back into that moment of your life. I think all of us deep down would love to relive some moments of our lives, but I have no need to want to go back now because life has meaning today for me, and it can for you too if you're struggling with that. I'm still nowhere where I want to be, and I still haven't found any crazy amount of success in my life, but I did find stability. And despite whatever's going on in the world, I have that stability, and no one can take that from me. I have the structure and discipline in my life. And if someone like me can do it, you can too. It's really, I'm telling you, I'm not any different from y'all. I'm not above anyone. I promise you that. I think hope is extremely important to have, and you can have that in yourself from taking action and working towards your goals. I've noticed the lack of hope in my life when I was stuck in limbo, when I wasn't doing anything. And it's a very common denominator with a lot of people who struggle with having hope. But I completely get it. Nostalgia is awesome, and I've talked about 2016 on this channel and moments in my life and where a lot of people culturally look back on, and I completely get it. I really do. Nostalgia feels stronger than hope, and that's because memory feels safe, and the future does really feel uncertain, but sometimes you just got to go at it anyway. And nostalgia can't build a life, it can only comfort one. And hope doesn't come back by wishing for the past, it's going to come back by choosing to believe in something, and even if it's quietly or imperfectly or without guarantees. And if you've been living with one eye on the past, you're not broken, you're just human like the rest of us, and in a world that's forgot how to imagine the future properly. So if this video resonated, leave a comment and tell me, what do you miss and what do you still hope for? I'd love to know about it. So subscribe for more honest conversations about life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.